It's Monday morning, and that means it's time for another episode of Brunansky's vlog. Now, I get it, it's Monday morning, not everybody enjoys Monday morning, but let's go ahead and focus on the big picture here. This is episode 6. That's not really the big picture. The big picture is, this is a milestone episode, because this week marks my 2-year anniversary of writing movie reviews and covering movies. So if you go to Brunansky's blog, in the show notes below, you can look back and see some of the movies I've already been reviewing for the past 2 years, and now we're here on YouTube with you fine folks. So, happy anniversary to me. That feels kind of weird. Something's not right. Okay, this is better. We got rid of that stupid kids toy thing, and we actually got something that adults use to celebrate, which is champagne. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this bottle while you guys get ready to enjoy episode 6 of Brunansky's vlog. Cheers! Oh, this is not good. I have to finish it though, I don't want to waste $7. In the news, Lionsgate has announced they've added Milla Jovovich to the new Hellboy movie, which currently has David Harbour as Hellboy and Ian McShane as Professor Broom. It's also been announced the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, BPRD, will also be in this new version. However, casting for these roles have not yet been announced. We've also been told this will be more of a horror-based story, and Neil Marshall is set to direct. Okay, so this is like okay news. I wouldn't say that this is like mind-blowing, like, what? I can't believe that dropped today. Are you kidding me? It's nothing like that. This is just like, oh, okay. This is just painting a picture. So that's what I like about this story that dropped, is they're painting a picture of what we can anticipate. Now that picture does have me a little cautious, a little curious on how excited can I get for this film, because while I did enjoy the first Resident Evil movie, I thought it was probably one of the best adaptations to go from video game to the big screen. The subsequent films that followed for that franchise have just not been good. For me, in my opinion, personally. I know that there's a fan base for these movies. I get it. They're not for me. So if they're for you, I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying these are not my movies and I don't think they're very good. So if you enjoy them, that's cool. Continue enjoying them. And I will continue to wait for her to have like a breakout role that makes me go, there she is. Now this film could be that. With the right direction, she could actually have that breakout performance where everyone's like, oh yeah, that's who she is. She's not just that hero from Resident Evil, she's actually this actor. So it's possible. With the right direction, she might be able to blow my socks off, which would be pretty great. That's what I'm hoping for. David Harbour, I mean, he could do Hellboy. I mean, he's got that kind of gruff, not going to take any BS attitude. Sure, give the guy a shot. Why not? Let's see what he can do as Hellboy, because he did a good job with Stranger Things. So let's see what he can do here. As far as Ian McShane goes, I'm actually very excited that he's in this because I like Ian McShane. Now, he's a very talented actor, but he has had a curious body of work as an actor. I get it. That's how actors get paid, to act. But he'll do stuff like Deadwood, or he'll do stuff like American Gods, and then he has like stuff on his IMDb for like Hercules with The Rock, which was a terrible film. So it's kind of nice to see him stepping into this role. He's the one that gives me hope, because the director, I'm not really familiar with Neil Marshall. Like, I looked at his IMDb and I don't think I've seen any of the movies he's directed. I have seen the TV shows that he directed a couple episodes on. So he did shows like Westworld and Constantine. So I'm familiar with those. I really liked Westworld and I enjoyed Constantine, but that doesn't mean I'm going to like his vision for what he wants to do with Hellboy on the big screen. At the same time, it's not a negative. It doesn't mean that I won't like his vision either. So I'm kind of in the middle as far as his performance, or his vision as a director will bring out the best performances for these actors. So we just kind of have to wait to see for that. And then hopefully it all comes together with the ancillary characters that they're going to be bringing in, because this story, or this world that Hellboy lives in, has some really cool characters that lend themselves to a lot of either practical makeup and effects or CGI, But done well, either way, I'm on board. Just make it look good and then bring in the right actors to do these characters, because I enjoyed the first 2 Hellboy movies. It's been a few years, but we finally have a release date for what could be considered Chris Pratt's passion project. Cowboy, Ninja, Viking. Pratt, who has been talking about this film for approximately 3 years, will be starring in this movie, which is set for release in June of 2018. If you aren't aware of this property, it's based on a graphic novel of the same name. The synopsis currently reads, a government program to assist the war on terror turns Duncan, a man who suffers from multiple personality disorder, into a super soldier with the attributes of a cowboy, a ninja, and a Viking. Can we just say yes to all of this? This sounds great. Now, if you look up like what the story is on online, like the graphic novel, it doesn't necessarily state that he has multiple personality disorders. It states that he's more like given the powers. Like those are like things that he gets as like a super soldier thing. So at least if I read it right online, because I wasn't familiar with the source material at all. So if I'm reading it right, they're choosing a different route, a possibly more challenging route, to have a guy who has multiple personality disorder trying to play this super soldier who is at the same time a cowboy, a ninja, and a Viking. Plus it's Chris Pratt. Like, can you just take my money? Take my money right now. Like, I'm so on board with this. He's been working. I've been listening to possible rumors about this film for years, and I'm so happy that we finally have like a release date set. I hope everything goes well with the production and everything like that, because I can't wait to see what comes from this story. It sounds like insanity and craziness, and I'm on board. I'm there. Take all my money. I will be there opening weekend. If you know and are familiar with this product, the Viking Cowboy Ninja, or Cowboy Ninja Viking, throw it in the comments below if you've read the graphic novel, and let us know what your thoughts are on the graphic novel, if it's something I should pick up. I got a stack of comics I currently need to get through, but you know what? I can add that to the list of things I need to read if it's really good enough. So throw your comments below about the graphic novel itself, and then if you can persuade me and anybody else who reads the comments and jumps in and chimes in, then we can have a whole other discussion later on in the comment section about that. So I can't wait. If this is the first you guys are hearing about it, I hope you're excited, because I'm excited, because this movie sounds nuts and I'm on board for it. Disney has announced that it will be creating its own streaming service. Early reports indicated that they will be pulling their content from Netflix. However, it's now appearing that certain properties might be staying. As more news about this new service develops, I'm sure we'll be discussing it here. So the initial report was they're going to come out with this whole new thing, and then that's it. Like, they're adios, Netflix, bon voyage. But then later on, like, as things started to work out with the contracts and everything else, with Disney trying to create it, it seems that there's going to be certain properties, not Netflix-owned properties, but certain properties that they're already in contract with. So stuff like Zootopia that's out right now. Some of the Clone Wars stuff was on Netflix for a while, I believe. So there's still things that are out there that you can watch. The Marvel movies are on there as well, obviously. So there's stuff that you can watch on Netflix that won't get pulled. The contracts are they're already set. So unless there's some type of buyout for that, I'm sure that that's not going to be changing anything. But once those contracts expire, then maybe we'll be having a different conversation. But right now, like, the people I saw online, people were like, oh my God, does that mean like Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, The Defenders, like Iron Fist? What's going on with Punisher? Like, calm down. Netflix owns the rights to those characters. So those are Netflix original properties. So yes, even though they are Marvel characters and Marvel is owned by Disney, those characters, the rights to those characters, were purchased, or however you want to phrase it, by Netflix to use to make original content. So similar to how Fox has the X-Men, and they also have Fantastic Four, and Sony has Spider-Man. Yes, these are all Marvel properties, but each group has the rights to create these movies, TV shows, whatever the contracts state, as they will. So I don't think people need to freak out about, the Defenders and everything like that, because they still have the rights to create content for those characters. So I think we're fine there. But again, like I said, I don't know how long these contracts are, but once they expire or they get close to renewal, we may be having a different discussion. But right now, I'm not surprised that Disney wanted to do its own streaming service. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you look at how many movies Disney has made from forever till now. Like, it's crazy, the body of work that belongs to Disney. And it's not just Disney, it's live action Disney, going back to like movies like Bedknobs and Broomsticks, going back to the early Mary Poppins, going back to stuff like the early Disney animated films that, you know, from Snow White all the way forward. Like, we're talking generations of films, and there's no collective place for you to go to just watch whenever you would like. It's almost a little perplexing that Disney has waited this long with the amount of content they will be able to provide in one service. Now there's some conversations happening online about like, well, oh my goodness, are they going to create like a Pixar channel? And then you have to do a monthly subscription for Disney animation, which is separate from Pixar. Well, what if it's like Disney classics to where you're going back to like the Ugly Dachshund or something like that, like from like the 60s and 70s, like Herbie the Love Bug, like what the Apple Dumpling Gang, like what is going on with these movies? Like, I'm hoping, like most people, that Disney's just going to be like, hey, here's our service. You're going to have all of our content. And then, unfortunately, it's probably going to be an insane amount of money, like $1,000 a month. I'm kidding, calm down. But some insane amount of money for a monthly fee, and we're going to pay it. Especially like if you're watching this and you're a parent, I doubt highly you won't pay for Disney because you don't have to worry about anything. It's Disney. You have all of Disney content. It's basically a digital babysitter. You put your Disney app on and you start streaming Disney movies for your kid, and now hours later you finally got everything done that you needed to get done, and the kids are still watching Disney. Like I said, it's curious that it's taken them this long to create their own streaming service. I'm sure they've been working on this in the background for years, just to make sure that they have everything right, doing their market research, going through data and everything like that, just doing some audience questions, just to feel out people and what people feel would be an appropriate price point for a monthly subscription on that. Like, it's Disney. Disney doesn't just like all of a sudden, yeah, we'll do this. Like, they don't do anything on a whim. It's very planned. It's very strategy. I'll check it out. I love Disney. I've been a Disney kid my whole life. I'm still Disney. I can't wait to find out what this thing is going to be. I hope it's all Disney all the time in one app, and it's not like, you know, Disney Classic, Disney Animation, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, so all the Star Wars stuff, like each one's its own separate bucket. I hope it's one app that has different playlists. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that we can get this okay and it's not a huge price point on every month, because let's be honest, there's so many apps out there now for streaming services. Like that new Star Trek show is going to be on an app. DC animation and live action, like they've got specific shows for their app. You've got Hulu, you've got Netflix. Like, how many monthly subscriptions are we going to have to pay for? Like, it's going to get weird. It'll get weird before it gets comfortable. So that, you can quote me on that. It'll get weird before it gets comfortable. That's the quote of this show. So if you have a different opinion, throw it in the comments below. Keep this conversation going throughout the week, and let's talk a little bit more about Disney. The Deadpool 2 marketing machine is up and running. Once again, new images dropped, giving us our first look at both Domino and Cable. For those of you unfamiliar with these characters, we'll take a very high-level view real quick. Domino is part of the X-Men universe, which is why Fox Studios is able to use her in this film. She's a mercenary who has a subconscious ability to turn situations favorably for her and unlucky for her opponent, thus making it seem like luck is always on her side. Cable, also part of the X-Men universe, is a time-traveling mutant super soldier with psychic powers of unknown limit, a partial cybernetic body that has a techno-organic virus within it, and he has a law degree. For more on these characters, please see the link in the show notes below. Alright, so I'm excited about these guys. I think they look great. Granted, they do not look like they do in the comics. That's fine. You know what? Change is the spice of life, so give me all the spices. Like, I'm down for this. Like, Domino looks dope. She's got that full-out hair. I'm digging it. They did the reverse on the dot on her eye. I think it looks great. Cable, Josh Brolin looks super dope as Cable. Like, dude is jacked. He looks menacing and terrifying. Like, this is not a guy who sees a lot of humor in life. And so for him to be paired against Deadpool, who's the most sarcastic and nonchalant anti-hero in the Marvel universe, like, bring it. I can't wait to see this. Now, These first images obviously are just a glimpse as to kind of what the tone of the film is going to be. So take it with a grain of salt, right? Like if you're just like, oh, no way, I don't like these images. Cool, just take a breath and let's wait till we see some footage too, because we still haven't seen what they look like on screen, and they could look a little bit different, a little bit more refined, and a little bit more visually appealing on screen more than just in a photo. So try and keep an open mind. Don't freak out. If you're like me, though, you're excited to see the video footage because you're already liking what's being presented so far. And I saw those photos and I was like, yes, we're definitely talking about this because these guys are killing it and I'm a fan. Why does he have a teddy bear in that? Why does he have a teddy bear? That was so random. But like he's got like these things that he can do with his body with the cybernetics. So I'm curious to see how those are going to look once animated, and if they're even going to go that route. Like we don't know. It may just be, practical semi CGI effects, kind of like the first one, which had more of like a 90s action movie feel. So we don't know if that's what they're going to do for this one. They could do it all over again and I'd be fine because I really enjoyed Deadpool. It was a surprise. And it took me back to watching action movies back in like the late 80s, 90s, where I'm like, stuff's blowing up and this is cool. We'll find out what happens once footage drops, but so far, I'm on board with this, and I'm going to give this story a high five. Netflix acquired Mark Millar's publishing house. Millar's stories include Kingsman: Secret Service, Chrononauts, Kick-Ass, and Wanted. What Netflix has planned for this vast collection of popular stories, we will have to wait and see. I was really surprised when this news dropped because while Netflix has an insane amount of money, they're also in debt a lot. So like their business strategy confuses me because it's like ton of money, a lot of debt, ton of money, a lot of debt. Like I don't have like a doctorate in money. What's going on over at Netflix and how they can have so much money and also be in so much debt. But for them to purchase this, I was like, okay, so it feels like they're telling me and us that they have an interest in building out their original content on Netflix. So to make it more like what we would consider like a standard channel on television or cable, where you would tune into Netflix, to watch the Wanted TV show or to watch the Kick-Ass TV show. Like that is a cool concept as far as I'm concerned, because I thought the Wanted movie was enjoyable. It wasn't a great film, and it had some shortcomings as far as the story goes and the plot and everything. But it still was an entertaining film, and I enjoyed kind of what they were telling and how they were telling the story with like the throwing of the bullets and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. So I'm curious to see what Netflix could do with a body of work like that. Or once the Kingsman movies are done, like if they wanted to do a series of spy movies with the Kingsman, and yeah, that'd be cool. Like I'm not familiar with Chrononauts. I feel like I should be, because a lot of people online are like, Chrononauts is the business. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to get into that business because I haven't read it. So if you've read it, as always, throw it in the comments below and let me know your thoughts about Chrononauts. And if I should go down to my local comic book shop and pick up that, as well as everything else that I'm behind in with my weekly pool box. I think it's a great move for Netflix. These stories are good. Some of these stories are great. And Netflix really has done a decent to above average job with telling stories in long form, whether that form is, 8 episodes or whether that form is 13 episodes or even 4 episodes with what they did for Castlevania. So I'm curious to see what happens. I'm curious to see what their first venture will be into Millar Publishing as far as their shows go. And I can't wait to see more. So yeah, I hope you guys are excited too. Let's move on. Variety reports that Woody Allen has cast Selena Gomez in his next film for Amazon Studios, which is currently untitled. She will be joining Timothée Chalamet and Elle Fanning. This will be the third film Allen has directed for Amazon Studios. Link for the article is in the show notes below. Sure, why not? I like Woody Allen films, and I know Amazon Studios isn't just like Amazon Studios for Amazon Prime members. Like, if you go to the movies, you can see Amazon Studios. So I know that their movies are going into theaters. So I'm curious to see what happens. Selena Gomez, look, I'm 35. I don't know anything about Selena Gomez. All I know is people online either love her or they hate her. So I'm curious to see what can happen with Selena Gomez and what Woody Allen can bring out of her as an actor in his film. and hopefully it'll be good. I mean, I feel like this is probably the youngest cast Woody Allen has ever worked with. I could be wrong on that. If there's any fact checkers out there, go ahead and fact check me on that and then throw it in the comments below and be like, yep, Jeremy, your feelings were right. This is definitely the youngest cast he's worked with, or nope, check this film out. And then I can go back and pick that movie up at like my local used bookstore and just grab that for a couple bucks, support local people. But yeah, like I feel like this is the youngest cast he's ever worked with, which is intriguing to me. I like Woody Allen films. Midnight in Paris, I adore that film. It's one of those films that I can just put on in any mood, and it will instantly uplift my mood. I could be down here having a bummer day, and then I watch Midnight in Paris and like, okay, like I'm having an even day. I could be in a great mood, and now I'm in an even better mood, like a step above great after watching that film. It's just such a fun film. So if you haven't seen Midnight in Paris, I recommend you take some time to watch that. It won't require a lot of you. It's not an emotionally draining movie. You can just put it on, pour yourself a drink, whatever that may be, and then have a good time watching this film. Plus, the score of the film is very upbeat and light. There's a lot of guitar work in it too, just to kind of give it that French feel. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give it away because there's a lot of good actors in it, and the story is really good. So if I say anything, you might be like, okay, I predicted that would happen because of what he said. So I don't want to say too much. Just check it out. It's worth your time. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Woody Allen can do with this young cast for Amazon Studios, because I'm a big Woody Allen fan. I like his movies because they're about people. All right, so the next story is actually a collection of stories, and it's going to be the honorable mentions section of the news. Now, honorable mentions, if you joined us last week, that's when we first brought this new part out for the news segment. It's just going to be news stories that I saw that I went, oh, okay. I wasn't wowed by it, and I wasn't, like, oh, what? I feel that they are of note, and we should talk about them, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on them. We're just going to rapid fire, boom, 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 boom. And then we'll get on to the next segment here for you guys. So first up, we have Entertainment Weekly put out new photos for Star Wars The Last Jedi, which you can see here on the screen. James Cameron loses it when Josh Brolin declined to work on the Avatar sequels, and then gets called out by Brolin for his reaction when Brolin was interviewed later on. David Letterman is coming to Netflix with his own show. Ballers on HBO gets renewed for a 4th season. Lionsgate renews its film deal with CBS Films, allowing Lionsgate to handle distribution of wide-release films for the next 3 years. Finally, Riz Ahmed is in talks to join the Venom movie that Tom Hardy is set to star in by Sony. All right, that's it for the news this week. Now, if there was anything that popped off that you saw online, you were like, what? Why didn't we talk about that this week? We still can. Throw it in the comments below. I'll say it every time. Or I'll try to say it every time. There's a lot of news, and we can't get to everything that happens in one show. So keep that conversation about the news going in the comments below. If you had something that you agree with or disagree with, go ahead and throw your opinion down there and just keep everything moving. We have all week to talk about this stuff to our heart's delight. So go ahead and join in the comments below. If you have an opinion, yay or nay, share it with us. And we're going to go ahead and move now onto the movie review segment, where we'll take a look at films that I was able to get out to the theaters to see, and I will give you my opinion on whether you should save or spend your hard-earned dollars on what's currently in theaters. So let's go ahead and cut to that right now. This weekend, I was able to get out to see 2 movies in the theaters, so let's go ahead and talk about those right now. The first film I saw was Nut Job 2, Nutty By Nature. Now, this film takes place as a sequel to the 2014 Nut Job animated film. So if you saw that, you'll recognize some of these characters because they do bring them back, and Will Arnett is still voicing the main character of Surly. Now, beyond this, I don't recommend anyone see this film. This is 90 minutes of hot animated garbage. I was so bored and just in disbelief about what I was seeing on screen for 90 minutes. The main characters, the plot of the story is they find this nut house, like a nut warehouse, not a crazy place, but like a nut warehouse that has all of these different types of nuts that are just sitting there because that company went out of business. So all of these park critters and creatures are celebrating this failed business because now they get freebies. And then we kind of continue forward from there with that same mentality. The villain in the piece is just this white businessman who's the mayor, and he wants to take the park and turn it into an amusement park. There's no subtlety to their opinions on what like a villain is or anything like that in the real world. This really very much felt like a propaganda piece of garbage. The main villain uses phrases like, we're going to go ahead and get political contributions. The license plate on his car is embezzled, but it's spelled funny. Like, there's no subtlety at all. They're just beating you over the head for 90 minutes about their very different, very peculiar worldview that if somehow businesses failed and all of a sudden we get free stuff and we don't have to work for anything. It was so ridiculous. One of the main characters is the female portion, the contrast to Surly's character, his love interest, if you will. And she's trying to tell everybody, look, like the warehouse isn't anymore. We don't get free food anymore. So maybe we should just go back to like hunting and gathering like we do because we're animals. And they openly mock and harass her. Like, I was just blown away by the ridiculous nonsense that was written for this film. I was aghast at what I saw on screen. I stayed for the full 90 minutes because I wanted to see if there would be some sort of redeeming quality, like a message at the end of the story. There isn't. They just continue to do their thing, and then they make a point of saying that if you can beat the businessmen and you can watch these failed businesses go down, then there's a way for you to possibly get free stuff later on, and working together, you two can have a park. Don't go see this movie. This film is garbage. It's written poorly. The jokes are poorly timed. You can predict the jokes. They talk about, we got to be careful, and then they'll run into something, or slapstick humor, like they get hurt by something. Like, you can just plot it out. Like, they say this, now that's going to happen. And it's just not well written, and it's just over the top propaganda for kids. This movie was so bad, I was texting my family midway through to let my brother know, don't take your kids to see this film because it's garbage. Now, before you freak out and you're like, you were texting during the movie? What are you doing? Calm down. It's fine. There was 3 other people in the theater. They were about 4 or 5 rows in front of me, and then I was towards the rear of the theater so I could use my phone in the event that I got super bored, which I did. There's nothing redeeming about this film except for the fact that I can now tell you, don't see this movie, waste your money, waste your time at all on this garbage film. Avoid it, go find another movie to watch, because Nut Job 2, Nutty By Nature, gets no high fives. Next up, I was able to see Detroit. Now, this is a historical biopic that covers the events that took place in 1967 Detroit, Michigan in the Motel Algiers. It starts off with an animation sequence that shows the migration pattern of people moving into Detroit, Michigan, post the Civil War. Now, for an animation sequence to start the film, I thought was a little misleading because this is a very dramatic, suspenseful film, but I did like the animation after it kind of got going. I was like, okay, this is kind of neat. And it really shows how much business was available in Detroit and why so many people moved there. Now, if you know your history, you do know that at one point in American history, Detroit, Michigan was almost like the Paris of America. It was that much money in the city. There was that much business. There was that much commerce. There was a lot going on at one point. And now we get to look at what took place in one evening in their history. So the film itself is broken into 3 parts. And when I say 3 parts, I don't mean first act, second act, third. I mean 3 separate stories. We get the story about the Detroit riots. We get the story about what happened at the Motel Algiers. And then we get like a court case drama to kind of fill in the blanks that weren't necessarily there from the first 2 segments of the film. Overall, I enjoyed this film. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was tastefully done. It's very sensitive and delicate material to cover, and I thought Kathryn Bigelow, the director, did a great job. Now, if you're watching this film, I need you to understand that this film isn't about the Motel Algiers and the events that took place there. This film is not about the riots of Detroit, Michigan. No. This film is actually about something much higher as far as conversations are concerned, and it's about race relations. And that's why I say it's such a sensitive topic, and Kathryn Bigelow did a great job with this film. This film looks at race relations in America. Now, if you've ever watched the news, even today, or talked to anyone in your neighborhood, friend or family or otherwise, and they've expressed a certain apprehension towards dealing with the police because they feel the police have treated them unfairly, and you've looked at them and gone, well, why would you say that? Like, you're a straight A student, or you are ex-military, you're a veteran, or you're actually working a security job with the police, doing stuff with them and helping them. This film paints in the picture to help answer the why in your mind, if you have it. Now, if you don't have it, then you might just be seeing a movie that you identify with because you already have the answers. But if you've ever looked at the situation and gone, well, why would someone feel that way? This film answers it, and I think it does a very good job answering it. There's two characters in the film that almost feel like they're ancillary characters that could be completely removed, and we wouldn't miss a beat because they serve no purpose to the plot of the story. However, the theme of the movie, they're crucial to. And again, the theme being race relations in America. Now, we have two people, John Boyega and Anthony Mackie. Again, these two people don't do anything to serve the plot, and to be honest, if the movie ended at the Motel Algiers when that scene ends, you could remove them entirely and we wouldn't miss a beat. But because the movie continues on, these two are very crucial to the theme that is race relations. You have John Boyega, who's actually a security guard working with the police, and you have Anthony Mackie, who is a veteran who has done 2 terms with the military. So things happen to both of them in a negative light to just kind of paint that picture to explain away the why people might feel a certain way when it comes to their dealings with local law enforcement. If it wasn't for these two people who were doing the right thing and have been following what society tells them to do and not seeing that backlash, I don't know that this movie would carry as much weight, because by seeing that backlash on these two specific characters, it really drives that message home to answer those questions. And again, to Catherine Bigelow, you did such a great job with such sensitive material that's still relevant today. I'm going to give you all the high fives. Detroit is a very intense movie. It is very dramatic, and it will possibly pull certain emotions from you if you're watching it and you have any type of relation to anyone who's been in any type of situation to what you see on the big screen. Because it's 2.5 hours, you do need to plan your morning, afternoon, or evening around this film because it is long and it is emotionally taxing. I walked out of the theater a little confused because I thought it was about the events at the motel, but once I realized it's about race relations in America, everything made sense, and I just sat there going, wow, what a great film. So I recommend you see Detroit the movie. It's in theaters now. If you don't want to see it in theaters because of how intense it might be, I understand it. I completely do. But I recommend that you still visit this film once it hits DVD or VOD so you can enjoy it in the privacy of your own home. Detroit, you're getting all the high fives from this guy. Catherine Bigelow, you're getting high fives too. All the actors and actresses, great job. Detroit the movie, check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what everybody was seeing this weekend. So in the box office, it is Monday morning, so we want to go through that top 5 to see what the highest earners were. And before I jump into that, I do want to say this was not a good weekend for moviegoers. I'm not quite sure if everybody was on vacation or if, back to school and everyone's working and stuff like that, and they couldn't get out to the theaters this weekend, but my goodness, you are going to see the top 5 is pretty low as far as the overall numbers are concerned. So coming in at number 5, the Emoji Movie is $6,605,000. Can we please just get on with our lives and get past this garbage film? Please. Number 4, The Dark Tower with $7,875,000. Number 3, Nut Job 2, Nutty By Nature with $8,934,748. Number 2, Dunkirk with $11,405,000. And number 1, Annabelle Creation with $35,040,000. So overall, the only real winner this weekend was Annabelle Creation. So it looks like everybody that did go to the movie went out because they were looking forward to a horror film or just getting scared a little bit as we get closer and closer to fall, which leads us even closer then to Halloween. So we're going to start seeing some of these more scary films start popping up in our top 5, I'm sure. But until then, we'll just keep our eyes on the box office, and we'll just keep moving forward from there. I'm really happy Dunkirk is still in the top 5 out of all of the movies that are listed. 3, 4, and 5 are just not good movies at all. So to see them still in the top 5 is a little disheartening. But as we'll see here in a second, we've got some good movies coming out that we can go ahead and take a look at. And hopefully those films will be the redeeming factor for next weekend's box office, and we can kick some of these garbage films off the top 5 once and for all. All right, coming out in theaters this weekend, we have Hitman's Bodyguard, starring Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson. Logan Lucky, starring Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Seth MacFarlane, Katie Holmes, and Daniel Craig. And this film is actually directed by Steven Soderbergh. And Patty Cakes, starring Daniel McDonald. Now, out of these films, I'm mostly excited for Logan Lucky because I'm a big Steven Soderbergh fan. Like, you tell me he's directed a movie, my interest is piqued. I'm going to check out the trailers, and if I like the trailers, then I'm definitely going to go see this film. I thought he did a really good job with the Ocean's 11 remake. So basically any film he does, I like his style and his flair for storytelling. So I'm looking forward to Logan Lucky. I'm looking forward to Hitman's Bodyguard. I think that's just going to be a fun time in the theater, just like an action comedy. And I feel like Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson combined will be something special for August. I don't know if it'll do that well as far as like critic responses, but I think if you go in and you're just like, just give me a fun action comedy flick, I have a feeling you won't be disappointed if that's your expectation. Now, where I'm at, Ingrid Goes West did not come out in theaters. Once again, my area is not getting the releases when they drop, which is frustrating. So hopefully Ingrid Goes West actually drops this weekend in my area so I can check that out. If that's the case, next week we may have a longer review segment because hopefully I'll be able to get out to see Ingrid Goes West if it drops here, and then also Hitman's Bodyguard and Logan Lucky. I'm not really familiar with Patty Cakes. It's an independent or semi-independent film. It's put on by Fox Searchlight Studios, so it's a smaller budget film. I've only seen one trailer for it, and I was like, okay. But if you're excited about it, that's cool. I probably won't be making it out to see that one, but I am going to try to get out to see Hitman's Bodyguard and Logan Lucky, and hopefully Ingrid Goes West actually drops in my area so I can check that out and get those 3 reviews up for you lovely people right here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look now at what's coming out on DVD and Blu-ray this week. All right, we have Alien Covenant, How to Be a Latin Lover, Everything, Blind, and The Case for Christ. Now, out of these 5 films, the only one I saw was Alien Covenant. I didn't even know about Blind, and that's an Alec Baldwin film, so I'll probably check that out on a Redbox or something like that, because I like Alec Baldwin's work. So, but yeah, Everything, the trailers for that just did not appeal to me. It looks like it's something for like a younger audience, like teenage-ish. So if you saw it, that's cool. If you liked it, throw your comments below and kind of share what you liked about the film. How to Be a Latin Lover, I did actually want to see that. I don't know why I missed it because it looked like it was just going to be a fun comedy. So hopefully I'll be able to check that out on Redbox too. And then The Case for Christ, I actually had to look that up because I didn't even know if that had a theatrical release, and it did. So cool. If you're of a religious mindset and lifestyle, then you may enjoy this film. I don't know. I feel like it's pretty target specific in which demographic they're going for. So if you fit in that demographic and you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. I don't know. And if you do, throw it in the comments below and let me know what you thought about the film in general. So I definitely recommend you check out Alien Covenant on DVD and Blu-ray if you haven't. I really enjoyed that film. I also enjoyed Prometheus, and I feel like this was a nice tie-in. They had some nice references back to that, and then also it really moves the mythos forward and the story forward as far as the aliens are concerned. So I enjoyed that. Check them out. And then, like I said, if you have any thoughts about any of the films that you've already seen before they actually drop on DVD and Blu-ray and you just want to share with us, that's what the comment section for. Before I go, I do want to give one honorable mention. While it is Monday, we actually had a pretty important birthday yesterday, and that was for the main man of suspense and horror, Mr. Alfred Hitchcock. So Alfred Hitchcock is obviously no longer with us, but he left us an incredible body of work in both film and television. So thank you so much, Alfred Hitchcock, for delivering all those films. I know growing up as a kid, I used to stay up late at night watching Nick at Night, And I used to watch all the Alfred Hitchcock shows. I grew up on Alfred Hitchcock. He's the master of suspense and terror. He's, as far as horror goes, if there's a horror movie out, I probably won't see it, but I will definitely check out Alfred Hitchcock stuff. Oh, and look who decided to join us. It's Austin the dog. So happy birthday, Alfred Hitchcock. If you guys have anything specific about Alfred Hitchcock that you like, go ahead and throw those in the comments below as well. And I mean, let's get back to watching some movies. That pretty much wraps it up for us this week on episode 6, the 2-year anniversary episode of movie reviews here for myself. Again, most of my reviews have been written, so it's all on Brunansky's blog, so you can check that out. The link's in the show notes below. But thank you so much for spending time with me these past 2 years talking about movies. I've appreciated it and I've enjoyed it. And I hope you have too. So now we're going to just continue moving forward with this vlog segment as well as the blog. So we're just kind of building forward from what we've already established. So I hope you guys are excited about the momentum we're gaining going forward, because I know I am. And I'm looking forward to talking more movies with you guys. Thank you so much to everybody who's already clicked subscribe. If you haven't, now would be a great time to do that. Thank you as well for everybody who gave me the thumbs up. If you liked any part of this show, please go ahead and give me that thumbs up rating. I'd appreciate it. And then as always, if you have any thoughts about anything that we covered or news stories that were dropped that we didn't cover, you can always throw them in the comments section below and keep the conversation going there all week long. Finally, be sure to follow us on Twitter, as you can see here right on the page, as well as Instagram, because as I mentioned last week, we will be building out our Instagram page, so I want to make sure that you guys are following me there so you don't miss out on any of the updates that are dropping as we move forward with that specific phase of Brunansky's vlog. So make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and then make sure you click subscribe as well here on YouTube. And as always, we will see you next Monday.